Hey, what's going on, everybody? David Noe with SpeakEasy HR, presented by Payroll Partners. I am live at a CincySHRM event with special guest Melanie Boer, and I have a live audience with me. So I'm just going to scan this out here.
Yeah.
I didn't get everybody's authorization to do this, but it's a very low quality camera, so.
That's why they all sat a little bit back. It's fine.
So we are, cut off my,
Okay.
So we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube for those of you who are not here at the Mad Tree Brewing, Parks and Rec, I think is what we are at. So again, I am David Noe. I am the host of this podcast, and everybody here is seeing the behind the scenes of this podcast that I started last year. So we're at episode 52. And like I told everybody here live, I normally don't have local guests on the show. I've had a few are in the audience actually. Raise your hands if you've been on the podcast before. So I got 2 so far. Hopefully everybody else here might want to be on a podcast someday if you haven't. So this is my first podcast. I've never done one before. So learning how to do it has been fun. Learning how to engage with the guests have been really fun if they're not local. And so today, we're all fortunate to have somebody that knows a little bit about culture, that is a local personality, and I have the pleasure of having Melanie Boer on from TMI, the Engagement and Experience Officer. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Woo!
So if you have watched, I have a mini air horn. If anybody doesn't have one of these, they're so fun. You walk around at work and you just go up to someone and you're like, Melanie, great job today. Whoa. So people actually love this. It's such an easy little thing. And you might be sitting at a table at a chair where you had a little something on your chair. So if you do have one of those, that was me. It wasn't like a little fairy that came around before we got here. So that's a little culture booster as well. So how I do this usually on the podcast is I really ask the guests to get more involved in this episode with me, whether it's about culture or something else. Everybody that comes on has a different perspective, right? So we talk about things that really the person can share stories, can share ideas, and I learn every time I have an episode. So I'm at episode 52, and I have guests lined up until next November. So everybody here, hopefully you can tune in to an episode or two. So Melanie, people that don't know you, I'm sure a lot of people here do know you because this was a sellout crowd, which was awesome. So if you want to just tell us a little bit about your background, what got you into HR, because I mean, everybody here in HR, I'm sure that's what you wanted to do when you were like 7 years old, right? So tell us about your background and what you're up to.
Sure. Thank you again so much for having me, David. I'm thrilled to be here. And so good to see so many faces here of people that I know. So I have been in HR for many years. Graduated from Miami. I can't believe I'm saying this, in 2000. So for a few years. But I grew up in the Dayton area. My parents were teachers. And when I went to school, I said, I'm going to be a teacher just like you. And my mom said, oh, okay, well, we're not going to pay for college. And I was like, Mom, teachers aren't supposed to say that to your kid. So to get some support for that, it sounds terrible. She would be mortified that I'm saying that. Anyways, I actually went ahead and I was like, well, I'm going to go into business. And so I took all the business classes and I loved HR the most. Can you imagine? So I still get to be a teacher, right? But just in a different way. Have worked in corporate environments, done some great things, but most of you who've known me over the last 10 years know that I've really focused on culture. I think I want to say almost coined the term culture coach before we didn't even know what that was, right? I was like, I'm going to call myself that. And have just loved doing all the things that are about how do we make people enjoy coming to work. I get comments all the time about my tagline on LinkedIn, right? Which many of you know is life's too short to work with jerks. I think that's a baseline statement, right? We all should enjoy going to work every day. And so that's really what kind of fostered and fueled my desire to be in HR was how do I make it better for humans in a world fueled by AI, which maybe we'll talk a little bit about. That's how I got here. So, and in the past year and a half or so, I joined Talent Magnet Institute, which Mike Sipple has been a great I don't like to call him boss. I don't like that term. Anyone that knows me knows I don't respond well to bosses. So I really have enjoyed working with him and growing out, it's not just culture, but how do we impact this from a leadership perspective? I almost call it, strategic culture, which is built on leadership and how we develop humans and make workplaces great. So that's what we've been doing.
Well, I appreciate you sharing all that. And there's a few books up here. If you do not have any of her material, she gave me one of hers that's about golf, which I'm a big golfer. So she brought the Tea Time
They probably
Journal.
don't even know what is that? How did that? I know.
I just got it. So tell us about this.
I know. Well, so you guys, I've written a few books. Jody Brandstetter and I did some great things. Actually, I think we might have some authors here even in the crowd where we helped create like these, what we called like a collaborative book, right? Where everyone wrote a chapter. One that you might love is Culture Impact, which was, I got 12 people from across the country to write about what do you think? How do you make great workplace culture? And I took one chapter because my way is just one way, right? This isn't rocket science, but there's lots of ways to build great culture. So we did that, and I had my whatever. I've got some other fun stuff, solo stuff. But I didn't really want to write more books, but I found that I didn't want to squash my creative nature either. And so I went to the UK for Matt and I's 20-year anniversary last year and had some tea. And the Queen had just died when I went there, but I started loving tea and that idea of like having a human moment with a person, right? And you sit and like, it takes forever. Anybody ever had tea time that's like 3 hours long? Okay, well, right. That in American society, we don't do that. Yeah, we gotta get on to the next thing. Anyways, long story short, I started making themed journals just because it was fun. So I made my tea time journal, which was all about tea and filling your own cup first so you can fill others. And my husband said, it's not very masculine. I'm like, I know. And so for my husband, I created the tea time journal, which was golf themed. Yep. So I've got some fun little journals out too. And that's really just, again, fill your own cup first, take some time for reflection. And now I have one, if you don't like tea or you don't like tea, then I have a human one. Are you human? Right. So I have that one that I just hit go on, and it's out on Amazon right now too. So
yeah. Very cool. So I've been asking every guest this question, and I love to hear what people say. You don't know this question.
Uh-oh.
So what was the biggest piece of advice you've ever received in your life?
I immediately thought of my dad, and he is still alive, but one of the best things that he ever said to me was, again, as a high school educator and principal, he said, Melanie, they can take your car, they can take your house, they can take all kinds of things, but they can't take your education. And I was like, okay, I hear you, Dad. So I did go on. I feel like I have a real passion for learning because of that lifelong learner mentality. So whether that's, got my master's, I just keep learning all the time. And I feel like I attribute that to him.
Yeah. No, I love that. Can everyone hear us in the back? Everyone good? Okay. We got one microphone. We got microphones for the live podcast on LinkedIn and YouTube. So we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. I do have some people watching live, so thanks for tuning in. So the envelope icebreaker game has been something that I've really enjoyed doing with the guests that have been on. It's 15 envelopes. Questions are all different, a lot of fun. So I'm gonna play this. Hopefully it'll transition. Oh yeah, it actually works. Man, I tell you what, this is fun. All right. 1 through 15, Melanie, what number do you like the most, or what do you want to pick?
13.
13. Okay.
It's lucky in my world. I don't know. Anybody else likes that number?
Lucky 13.
Okay, good.
Okay. Number 13 is, all right. If your career was a mascot, what would it be?
Oh, no, a mascot. Okay, well, I don't know if it's because it represents it, but I was a mascot once.
What?
Yeah. Vandalia Parks and Rec, Dayton, Ohio. Ooh. Ricky the Recreational Rabbit.
Ooh.
That is hot on the 4th of July, I will tell you.
Did anybody know that in here about Melanie?
Anyone else ever been a mascot?
No.
Hot as Hades. Okay.
Oh, Matt Flynn has.
I can see you doing that.
Okay.
But so while that may not represent, I don't know, the recreational rabbit, that might go with, that's like having fun. I would have to just go with Ricky because we have a bond.
That's amazing. I've had some really fun answers to questions, but that one might do it. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay, so you want to do one more?
Sure.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay, 1 through 15, not 13.
7.
7. All right. Some people always pick 7
Uh-oh, what did you
and
put in
13.
there?
This one's fun. Okay. What's a random skill or talent you have that people are always surprised by? You're
Oh
an
my.
author?
I know. I don't know
That's
if
a
they're
talent.
surprised by that though.
Uh-oh.
Um, I
It's
don't
cool.
know. I do think well, I don't know, a random skill or talent. I'm
Yeah,
shockingly candid. I don't know if they're not surprised by that after all these years. I don't think.
Yeah.
I would say that the game shocks people when they're like, "Oh, you have a game too?" Like, well, that's kind of cool. And that story is we were in COVID, playing lots of games. I'm sure people were, right. Lots Cards Against Humanity was one of those.
Yep.
The kiddie version, Apples to Apples.
Yep.
If you don't know that other version. And my husband said to me, like, "What? You're a gamer?" I like to describe myself as a gamer. And laughingly, I used to say I had like 1,000 unique dragons. Anyone that games, I was a farmer. Okay, and I can see a few heads nodding, and a few of you are like, she's crazy. Now I just resort to playing like card games with my kids and stealing their money. But in we made a game. So I made a game called Cards for Culture. So it came off of that idea of how do you make learning this fun. And I think that's a fun fact not everybody knows. So you can
There you go.
take gamification into the work
Absolutely.
world.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, thanks for playing.
Sure.
Those are brand new questions that I had for season 2 or year 2, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to transition in about a minute to the topic. So if everyone wants to just take a quick breather, a quick sponsor message, and then we'll be back
Finding
to it.
a new employee takes time and money. For one position on a single job board, you could easily spend a minimum of $5 to $10 a day advertising a job post. It's worth noting that the average time it takes to hire a new employee is 36 days. However, it can take longer than that. You could find yourself paying hundreds of dollars a month for a single job board. And if you're using multiple job boards for multiple positions, this could add up to thousands of dollars a month. There is a much simpler and more affordable way of finding the right candidate. At Payroll Partners, we offer an applicant tracking system to help manage your hiring process. Our ATS is customizable, allowing you to decide which days you want to run the job and when to close it so you don't break the bank. And this feature lets you e-blast your network, posting jobs on multiple boards at once, all managed in one location. Payroll Partners, elevating your payroll and HR experience.
All right. So if you do not know Matt Flynn, he is in the house. He is on our sales team, managing our Ohio sales team, and we're fortunate to have him. He and I go back from earlier days working together, and he knows a lot about workers' comp. He's very passionate about workers' comp and payroll tax. You would think that's not a really exciting topic, but he really gets you energized. So if you have any questions about what we do at Payroll Partners, let Matt know or let me know. Be happy to connect with you. So I do see some people watching online, so I'm glad. Karen, you should have shown up. I see empty seats. There are a few empty seats, but there are some people just hanging out in the back. So hopefully you can make it the next time we have this. And so to the top shelf topic for today. Again, this is something that I always try to ask the guest, because when they come to me and they say, what do you want to talk about? And I say, well, what are you passionate about talking to a live audience, right? This is live. A lot of people that do podcasts don't do them live. And so for me to start one and not have this as my full-time job, it's part of my job, but to do it authentically in a conversation like we are now live, I always tell people, what do you feel like you can share stories and share insights with what you've done in your work? And so when we talked, you thought obviously there's a set list that you like to talk about, but the culture advantage in building a workplace that people love. And so I love that topic. I feel like every culture I've been in, I can explain. And what's funny, when I interview people, I ask them, like, what is your culture that you have felt like you really are motivated to go to every day? How can you explain the culture you enjoy? And a lot of people can't answer that question. It's really funny. And so when I ask people, like, what is your culture? If I don't work for a company that you're with, what is your culture like? And if you might be thinking right now, like, I really can't explain what my culture is like in a few words. But, when we started talking about it, I feel like culture is really a hot topic. And the next couple of episodes of SpeakEasy HR are on culture. So it's just kind of funny that this is all lining up. So Melanie, breaking the rules, what's one common workplace culture myth you wish people would stop believing?
I think we hear things when people talk about culture and that you immediately might jump to things like pizza and happy hour, right? You guys I see heads nodding. That is ping pong. I hear that myth too, right? And we kind of joke about it probably in HR a little bit. What I think, what we're more focused on, and this is where my work coincides so well with what we're doing at TMI, is that it's not those things, right? It's not work perks like that. It really is about shared meaning, right? And what are we doing to make this a place where people actually want to be? What does it feel like? What's the 15 feet of space around us feel like in our work environment? What are the rituals that we share together, right? The mission and the values, those things. So I think that's, yeah.
Okay, mini makeover. If you could change one small thing tomorrow that would instantly improve workplace culture, what would it be?
If I could change one small thing tomorrow, I would say kind of treating culture like a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
For those of you that are music fans, you know what that means, right? So that idea that, I can just have a workshop and we're going to fix it, right? We're going to throw that Band-Aid on there.
Yeah.
I think it has to be a strategic plan.
Yeah.
Right? Culture is something that is built into your leadership team. It's built into your actions. It is not carried by HR alone.
Yep.
Right? We have to, from the CEO to the new hire, everyone has to carry that load.
Yeah.
So that's what I would love to see happen for HR.
And it's hard to say that's going to apply to everybody. So a show of hands, I want to know what kind of organization you're in from a size perspective. So show of hands, who is with a small business under 50 employees? Okay. 50 to 300. 300 plus. Okay.
Good mix.
So pretty good mix. Some larger organizations. So some of those organizations probably have hybrid work environments, work from home environments. It's hard to have a culture when you have people not in the office together. I'm sure people are trying to figure out how to navigate that right now. I don't like to work from home every day. It's a perk that some people might want just because they feel like they can maybe get things done and watch a movie or whatever at home. And it's just really difficult to do your job. I like to interact with people in person. I like to get things done in person. So I think just knowing the room right now that we have, a lot of mix of company sizes. How about a culture red flag? So what's the sneaky sign that culture is starting to go off track, right? Before it becomes a bigger problem?
This makes me think immediately of just communication gaps. And I know that's a little bit elusive because we are human, and to have communication gaps is human.
Yeah.
But I think culture and communication are so closely tied together that that's a really important thing to think about, right? So when you're having something happen at work and you're automatically filling something in with the negative, right? So we say we should assume positive intent. That is not human nature, right? And unfortunately, with lack of communication, what happens is people just fill in the blanks with whatever old shit they want because they're like, I'm just going to make stuff up. Oh, you can't edit that out. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
That's one of my charms. That's one of my charms.
It's okay.
So that is one of those things where you can't fill in the blanks, right? And if you are going to fill it in, you should try and err on the positive side. Like, why isn't Betty at work today? Well, it's not probably because she wants to stay home and watch a movie, David, but she had something come up really important with her family. Something happened that kept her from being there. So I think that's an important element, that we just make sure we're not filling in the blanks with the negative.
Yeah. Okay. Show of hands. You have two options. Which do you think is worse for workplace culture, micromanagement or lack of recognition? Okay. Show of hands for micromanagement.
Woo.
And lack of recognition. Okay. All right. Very good. Interesting. No one likes to be micromanaged, I don't think. I definitely think there's a balance of managing in a way that people will learn and not feel like they are going to make a mistake and get fired. So, okay, reverse engineering here, Melanie. If you were starting a company today, what is this? It's not October, it's November 12th, and it's like 70 degrees out all of a sudden. It was just 20 degrees a few days ago, and we had snow, so that was really weird. If you were starting a company today, what's the first thing you do to design culture that people will love?
Well, I would want to build it with multiple inputs from the leadership team to the to the whole organization. So again, if you assume you're starting small, I think I would play cards for culture. That's an obvious answer. But the reason I would do that, whether it's a card game or something else, is it sets up what culture do we want, and so you define it first, and then you tie it to behaviors, and that's very important. We in HR love behavior-based interviewing and things like that, right? Like when we know past behavior predicts future behavior, so we would tie it to the behavior. What behaviors do I want to see in my culture? And then I would make it part of your, how do you bring it to life? So I would think through, okay, what processes does this need to be a part of? What habits, right? It has to be modeled by our leadership. It needs to be in our handbook. It needs to be part of our recruiting process, right? So when I'm bringing on and onboarding a new person, those are the questions that I should ask, right? They should be tied to the culture so that I'm not just winging it, but it's tied to everyday habits and process. And that's how you bring it to life. It's not just sitting on someone's shoulders, because we as humans don't think, let me check off culture off my list today, right?
Yeah.
We have to be thinking, okay, it's tied into these things and it just happens naturally.
Show of hands, and I'm going to ask you this too. How many people, when you interview, if you are in an interview TA role and you're recruiting, how many of you ask about culture to the applicants when you're talking to them? A few people.
How many of them ask you about culture when they're interviewing?
Yeah.
I think it's almost a flip.
Now, do you feel like, and do you feel like you can explain your culture to somebody that doesn't know what it's like? So what would you say if I put you on the spot? If I were to be interviewing you, what's your first name? Megan. Yes. So Megan, I want to work for your company. Tell me about your culture.
I would just say we have a hybrid environment. So on our days that we are on site together, we do try to spend more time collaborating together.
Yep.
On our remote days, we really prioritize like getting more of those administrative type of functions done. Like, really working through what each department needs to get done through the week. So I would say we kind of try to do more of our face-to-face meetings and then like fun gatherings. Whether that, it's like spending time together just to, be and collaborate as a team when we're on site together.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I describe us.
Yeah. So that tells me that you trust your team to do their job. You don't micromanage. You give them flexibility, right? People have lives, people have families, kids, elderly parents, things come up, right? I was at an event this morning. A few people were in here that were at the event, and the company Big Ass Fans, they have fanny days. So these fanny days are like days where if your car breaks down or something happens and you have to go pick up your kids at school, like last minute. So the last minute things that life brings you, they have fanny days. And she went in and talked to all the employees, like, what do you like about the culture? And they said fanny days. A lot of them said they like the fanny days. And it's like, does that cost the company money? Maybe. Productivity, whatever. But like, you're giving people the chance to like really live their lives and not be at work 24/7. So thank you for answering that question. Okay. The culture playlist. If your company culture had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh, I have a quirky personality, guys. So I have two that just came right to mind.
Okay.
I'm a big girls just want to have fun fan. Right?
Okay.
All the ladies are like, yes. Men, you got that too, right? But in today's day and age, I'm thinking I'm Opalite because I'm dancing through the lightning strikes. Are you guys watching Taylor Swift? Come on. Okay. That song is actually rather amazing. And it does speak to, right?
Yeah.
Like dancing through the lightning strikes,
Okay.
sleeping through the onyx nights. So there's dark nights. And then Opalite is a what? It's a man-made gem. She had to adjust and do some things herself. Okay. So I see some heads nodding. You guys think I'm crazy. I have analyzed this song. But I think
That's
it ties,
good.
right?
Yeah.
Like it really
Yeah.
makes sense.
I think that's great. Does anybody else have
I
a
will
theme?
bust out and dance to Opalite with anyone later. So
There you
we can
go.
totally make that happen.
What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. I like that. Anybody else have a theme song for your culture? Dan. The Friends theme song.
Friends, I'll be there for you.
I'll be there for you. I like that. Okay, good. Anybody else? That's fun. What was it? Let's go crazy.
All right.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking. Well, good. Well, I appreciate everyone having a little bit of fun with your culture theme song. Okay, round 2 of engagement from the crowd. Which is worse for workplace culture? Not being paid enough money or not feeling invested in getting any professional development? Show of hands, not paid enough money. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and then not feeling invested in getting any professional development. Yep.
Those are the
Majority.
top 2. Yeah, those are the
Yep.
top 2 reasons that we hear. We hear that in HR a lot, right? People just kind of expect to get competitive wages.
Yeah. When I talk to people and interview them, a lot of people that are not currently unemployed because they went through a layoff, acquisition, merger, whatever, majority of them are like, I do not feel like I can grow in the company I'm in. They're not investing in me. And so I hear what everybody says in an interview, and I can really play off that to say, here's what we can offer: certifications, career paths, a small team environment. You are collaborating on a team, and you're not in a company of thousands. So people coming from that kind of culture, it is a culture shock. I've gone from a large healthcare organization to a small business during COVID, and it was a culture shock. I don't know if anyone's gone from like company sizes, but it can really weigh on you, and it takes you time to acclimate yourself. So I've had to acclimate myself into every culture, because even within an organization, if you have 15 locations, all 15 locations have a different company culture, right? And what drives that? Management, leadership, the company vision. You can't replicate that in 15 locations. And if someone can, you probably have a great retention. Question, comment. Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Can they hear that? Do you have to repeat that? The more professional development, the money will come. Or can
On here or on there?
Yeah, like can the people in there hear all that?
They can't hear Russ. He said the more professional development. What did you say? The investment?
The money will come.
Yes.
If you build it, they will come. Yeah,
Yes,
you invest
absolutely.
in them, the money will happen. I like
Yes.
that perspective.
Okay, virtual high five. In remote hybrid teams, what's your favorite creative way to celebrate wins and keep morale high?
Remote work is a huge topic. We hear that all the time, right? How am I engaging my remote team? What are we doing? I don't know that there's a specific best way. What I see teams doing that are doing it well are really listening. Like, what are the needs? What do people want? Some of the things that we did back in COVID times have really kind of fallen off. But I will tell you that people are missing some of that, right? So they kind of were like, ooh, you guys, we adjusted so well when COVID was here, like having the online trivia, or you heard of companies sending care packages more often, or we adjusted for a hot minute. And yet for some reason, I think we're retracting back. Not to say there's not a reason for that. Human moments are important. We have to have those. But I think that what's also important is that we think about, how are we treating our remote team? Many organizations had like record years over the past couple of years. And yet we're retracting back to kind of the way we used to do it. So I think it's a thing where we have to keep thinking about it. And
hey, this is William Tincup, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Practitioner Corner podcast. It's a wonderful podcast about the journey, the paths of how practitioners, both HR and TA, kind of go from high school, college, all the way to where they are right now. Some of the things that they've learned, how they've been successful, people that thrive around them, etc. It's a fun podcast. You'll love it. You'll learn from it. Subscribe to it. Thanks.
Bring back some of those items. So what are the big, it is some of those things. What do they need? Do they need the adjustment? Do they need a trivia day? Would they rather do something independent and go, I think that the fact that we even all know what Teams and Zoom and all that is, that's pretty awesome. That it's even an option. And I think we just need to make sure that we don't forget those.
So we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube. We are live with an audience. This is the first time I've done this. So thank you for being a part of this episode. Thanks to everybody that have decided to come to this before the happy hour for CincySHRM, and thank you to CincySHRM and MadTree to have this event. Hopefully it's not the last time. Hopefully everyone's having a good time so far. So the ultimate culture test, Melanie, what's the one question you'd ask a job candidate to see if they'd fit your ideal culture?
Is there one question for this?
There can be more than one.
I know.
What's your first one to ask?
I mean, I think it depends what organization I'm in. So if I actually have, shocking, I have a card game that I would play with people. But what I would do is okay, if my organization stood for certain things, integrity, customer service, what are our key words that we stand for?
Yep.
I would pick one of those, and based on how the interview is going, I may want to learn a little bit more about someone, or maybe I saw a flash and then I'm like, I don't know about their service skills. So I may ask something about that. And of course I would set it up in a way that would tie back to our culture. So something along the lines of, tell me about, if serving others is really big on my heart and what we do. So I might say, tell me about a time you served others. What'd you do? How'd that go? And listen for the words that might align with what we do as an organization. A little bit of a side note. So that's a great question. I knew I wanted to work with Mike Sipple. I knew it before I had kind of officially left my company that I had built.
Yeah.
And it was because I had had a dream that I worked with Mike Sipple. I know that sounds weird. I'm saying this live. I can't take any of this back.
Nope.
And what was really interesting was when I sat down with him and we talked about things and we talked about what he believes in, what I believe in, they just meshed.
Yeah.
So like from a culture perspective, I didn't have to think I'd be swimming upstream. I knew that we believed the same things.
Yeah.
And it was something like, be nice, have integrity, think outside the box, serve others. That's not that hard. And then I laughingly, those are the same kinds of things that I say to my kids, although I kind of dumb it down into kid version. Be sweet, be smart, be strong, be of service. And I've been saying that for years. So the fact that we had that alignment, that's what you're looking for, right? You're looking for it from the candidates. They're looking for it from you. And when you hear some of the similar words, you're like, yeah, that is a culture fit. But you only know that because you've already defined it.
Yeah.
Right? We get lost when we don't know what our culture is, and then they sit down and they start talking about golf.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, he was so cool. Because was that a culture fit, or did you just bond in an interview over a skill? You know what I mean? So digging into the things that actually really define your organization and what makes you proud to be part of it and defines your vision, those are the things that you're listening for.
I think it's important to have a diverse culture and a diverse, well, not a diverse culture, a diverse group of people. If everyone agrees and everyone thinks the same way and everyone operates the same way, everybody's going to just agree. There's never going to be time where people are trying to come up with different ways to do things. So I do feel like, and show of hands, because I always like to ask this question when I'm in a group like this, from assessments, pre-hire, post-hire, the DISC assessments, all of the things out there, do people, show of hands, if you use a system to come up with some kind of culture or personality assessment or anything to help, I guess, decide on your hiring practices or align them for their career progression with your organization to see if they will be a future leader.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody use those assessments? Show of hands.
So we're talking what? DISC, Myers-Briggs, Strengths Finders. Come on, all those things. We're using something. A lot of people.
So just shout out which ones you use. I'm curious. What is it?
Hogan.
Okay.
Hogan.
DISC. Yep. Cool. Yeah. There's
anything else? Caliper.
Caliber. Okay. Yeah.
Enneagram.
Yeah. Cloverleaf. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a free one called 16 Personalities. Has anyone done that one? Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. And, it's obviously you can't learn about everybody and everything about them in an interview. You can learn about their interests and likes and hobbies and career. But as you learn somebody quicker, I feel like it can really help in how they mesh with the culture.
If I could just touch real quick on, you started that even conversation by saying, is diverse the right word or not? And I think sometimes we, especially in HR, are like afraid to use that word, and we should not be. Yeah. We need to be diverse. Sure. We need to save space for people that think differently.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a matter of, what boxes am I checking, but it has to be a matter of, in humanity, we are different. We should value those differences, right? We've come to a place, I think, where everyone, this is not a political statement. I said that first. We sit too far left and right for everything. And I don't care, politics, religion, Well, I see it at my kids' school, kids' sports, right? Like everyone's just alienated by all of the things.
Yeah.
And I think that if we saved more space and met in the middle more, I keep doing this because I picture kind of like a bell curve where we're stuck in those little corners. And I'd love for us all to be in that middle space.
Yeah.
And I hope for us as like, I know I'm delving into societal problems, not necessarily workplace culture, but I think that's our challenge really in the HR world.
Yep.
We're creating a better world, one workplace at a time, one leader at a time, one person at a time.
Yep.
And that middle ground, I think, is where we really have some ability to make some traction. Get people to think about that common, what do we have in common? There's probably a lot more than those pieces that tend to alienate us.
Yeah. Show of hands, if you or you know somebody in the last year that has been burned out in their job. Yeah, majority of people. It may not be you, it may be someone you know, it may be a friend, colleague. You know, it's a real thing. And I was at an event this morning and we were talking about burnout and how you can really improve that in your organization and really the leadership and how they can help. So how many of you do monthly one-on-ones with your team? Okay. If you are not, I would strongly suggest trying it next year or as soon as you can, because in those meetings, you don't have to ask them all about work. Because I know we weren't going to talk about AI, and I was so happy this morning we didn't talk about AI much at this other event. And I didn't want to talk about AI today because I know HR and the human connection and how that all aligns with culture is so important. So everybody that's in HR has such an important role in the culture of the organization. The leadership obviously has an important role. They have to support HR and they have to give them the right tools, the right investment in the HR function of the organization. Everybody's in a different situation, but it's such an important piece to it. And if you have people working from home, do they feel connected and motivated to come and work? Well, not come to work, but work from home. And do you feel like your people are motivated to come to work? I've heard this thing about job hugging in the last couple of weeks. Has anyone heard job hugging?
Job hugging.
Huh?
I don't know that term.
It is basically they're hugging their job long enough because they don't like their job, but they don't see anything out there in the workplace in the jobs posted in their area that they feel like they want to take the jump right now because they don't know what's going to happen with that organization. You know, I've had friends that have left jobs and they made a bad decision because they went to a company and they laid off that entire department. They went through an acquisition. You know, it's happening in payroll, benefits, industries that we work with. People are getting acquired. And then I'm like, how's the culture? It stinks. I want to leave. It's not like it was 2 years ago. We got bought out. I don't know anybody that manages this company anymore. I couldn't even tell you their names. I don't really care. And so it's very important as an HR professional and HR leader to really figure out a way to cultivate your culture, make it so people enjoy getting up and going to work. And the little things that were on your chairs, Matt doesn't know this. That's me. I go around our office. I don't know if anyone at Apparel Partners is watching, but people don't know that I'm doing that. It's a simple little packet on Amazon. I think I found it on TikTok Shop. I find a lot of stuff on TikTok. This is TikTok Shop. But
what are those little things?
Those things are show of hands who has one. So they're all a little different. One of them's like a duck. One of them's a frog, an owl, and so they are just little cards of encouragement and a little figurine that people may not really see much like in their day-to-day job. I try to tell people all the time, like, have you thanked your team this week? Find something and call them out for doing something good. Just put something on their desk. If you feel like they've had a hard week, find them a little something and put it on their desk. What is that, Matt? A little
Tiny, you're totally awesome. I may be a tiny turtle, but I believe in you. Tiny turtle is always here whenever you need a little cheer.
Yep. So thanks,
You
Matt.
needed it today.
I know you needed that. So
You're like the little gift fairy. I like it.
It's not hard. I mean, it costs $30 to buy this thing, and it was like 300 little pieces. So for $30, you don't have to have a lot of money to recognize your people and make that culture that they really are going to be like, wow. And I'm sure when you walked in and you saw that on the chair, you were probably like, what the heck is this little thing? I'm not even like at work. I'm at an event. And then you found that and you're probably like, oh, that's cool. So again, like if you don't really have the right words to write a thank you card, obviously AI and ChatGPT can help, but these are simple little things that you can do and just create a culture. If you are in an office setting, find a way to just make it fun. Don't just buy pizza, right?
And I like that little expression of giving a gift too, right? Because we talk about love languages, but in the workplace, right, we call them what? Languages of appreciation.
Yeah.
So that is an example of gift giving, but it also has words of affirmation, which I think is really important. I hadn't really, we think about those things and then we think, okay, well, how am I appealing then to the people who, some people just want to have a thank you. Some people want to have, right? People want to be rewarded in different ways. I think that's an important thing to consider in your culture. I laughingly say, people will say, well, like, what's your love language? If you don't know that wording, I encourage you to look it up in the book. But mine happens to be like acts of service. And what that means is I really like when people do something to help me out, right? That's someone helping out. So even like with my husband, he knows he needs to empty the dishwasher, right? Like that is like.
Get him one of these. And when he does it, go, great job. What's his name?
Matt.
Great job, Matt.
Woo!
There you go.
How does that come into the workplace, right? So same kind of thing. Like some people, they will want gifts or the words. Some people, it's, can you help them with something, right? So be thinking about those things. You started this conversation even by saying burnout, right? By rewarding something like that, will that heal burnout? Will it not? Okay, it's going to take a little bit more than that, but you're on the right path there by just acknowledging and giving them that little extra. I like to say that everyone is on the burnout spectrum. So whether you're, again, go back to what corner are we in, right? So you might be feeling really good or not, and every day is something different. Yep. And there are little things that we need to be doing to, again, I talk about filling your own cup first. I think as HR leaders, we forget that. We forget that we're caring for everyone else. We're training everyone else. We're approving everyone's budget. We're doing all the things. And then when I stop and ask them, well, what have you done for yourself lately? What are you doing for fun? When have you got when someone give you a little, whatever, gift of appreciation?
Yeah.
There's usually like a long stare, right? And the stats and data actually show that HR leaders, second to the CEO and president, the HR leader is the next most isolated position in any organization. I think that's pretty telling. And we all know that's because we can be friendly, but we can't be friends with everyone, right? And so what does that do to us over time? It is very important, if you're not doing it already, that you have some kind of cohort, mastermind, whatever, drinking buddy, I don't know what you call it. Make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that help you fill your cup first, so that you can fill others.
Yep. We've got some people watching that couldn't make it. Leanne, you know Leanne.
Oh yeah, hi Leanne.
Glad I could watch on the way. She had a soccer banquet. She has obviously
Jeff Walton's out there too.
Jeff
Hi.
Walton. Thanks for watching, Jeff. My conflict got canceled. I don't know what he tried to say there. So thanks everybody for watching live on LinkedIn and YouTube. I had a thought and then it went away, but
burnout spectrum.
Oh, show of hands. Thank you.
Yeah.
Show of hands. Who has been told, great job, thanks for all you do in the last 2 weeks?
Few.
Awesome.
About half, we think.
Yeah. I mean, that makes you feel good, right? I don't expect every day to be like, great job. Like, I don't need that, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, every once in a while, if you feel like you're putting your all into a project or hiring a tough to fill job, or you went through benefit open enrollment. I'm sure everybody in here that deals with benefits, they love going through open enrollment and figuring out the right benefits for their employees. It's a big deal, right? Like if you save the company money or help them with their renewal that was 60% and you got them a good deal, like you want a pat on the back every now and then, right? So it does really go a long way. And I would just say, if you have managers that you're trying to help cultivate a better culture, tell them you got to reach out to your team. Do a one-on-one meeting every so often. Take them to lunch. There's so many things you can do. Even just going to ChatGPT and just pull up ways to connect with your team better. I mean, it'll ask, well, what kind of company are you with? What, are you hybrid, remote, whatever? So, I mean, there's so many tools out there to figure out cost-effective ways to help your leadership and culture just get better.
Yeah. An easy kind of thought or something that you could do or take back with you to your team would be to start every meeting with a quick win. Like, what's something that's really going well for us right now? And one of the most powerful things to do is not talk about your own win, right? But what a win that your teammate had. So, for our team, again, we're remote for the most part. We even have a text string where we call out wins of the week or whatever.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're posting our own, but the most powerful ones are when you're posting that someone else had a win, right? Yeah. Because you're giving them that moment of, pat on the back or something that they did really well.
I did want to call out, before I forgot, the Unconventional Leadership podcast with Mike Sipple and TMI. So for those of you who follow that, it's a great podcast. Mike does an incredible job. Way better production than this one, but that's okay. We all have our own ways of doing things. So if you want to tell everyone about that podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Mike's been doing this for a few years now. Luckily I have been a guest a couple times, but Unconventional Leadership is really the umbrella that we try to work under. And I already gave you a little bit of that information, but sometimes what we do, we call it unconventional, but should it be? It's kind of like, common sense is not so common sometimes, right? Unconventional leadership, it's simple. It's those keys. I use the KEYS acronym. The kindness, ethical. The Y is the yes and mentality, being curious, doing things differently. And then the S is serving others. And so everything we do under unconventional leadership is with that idea in mind. And so it is a version of, he has leaders coming on from all over the place, talking about what they do, how they lead. It's really been, it's been a labor of love for Mike. And we kind of took that name from his podcast and developed it into like, hey, that should be what we do with everything. So when we coach people, we want to be unconventional. When we're doing training and development, let's call it unconventional, because we think everyone should be doing this, but sometimes they're not. So let's help them with those things.
Yeah. So. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So I wanted to leave a little bit of time for a Q&A. If anyone has questions, I want to hear them. If you just are thinking of a question in your mind and you feel like you don't want to ask it, I'm sure other people are thinking the same question. So any questions about culture, your situation, or your friend's situation that you want to bring up with culture, how can we help?
Hi, Julie.
What do you do if there is one bad apple?
Ooh, one bad apple.
What do you do if there's one bad apple? You fire them, Julie.
You're fired.
Well, right. Let's make a show out of this. We hear that a lot, and unfortunately, sometimes the bad apple is the CEO. I'm sure that's not in your case, but sometimes that is, there is someone that's keeping you from doing all the things that you want to do. It has to be addressed. It is harder when it is someone in leadership. When it's not someone in leadership, you can very easily say, this is our culture. Here's how we've defined it. Here's the behaviors that are acceptable. And once you've done that and Bob goes and does something different, you just come back and say, hey, Bob, that's not how we do business around here. And you can say it a couple times. Sometimes what we actually see is Bob self-selects out and he's like, that's not how we do business. Okay, I'm going to go this way because I am not doing business the way that everyone else is doing business. Sometimes Bob is dense and he doesn't get the fact that you're coaching him nicely. As good HR people, right? We document, we use our progressive discipline, all those, so verbal warnings, written, we can escalate, we can do all those things. But sometimes we have to make sure Bob knows this is how we do business. And if you're not aligned, then we have a gap. I don't think that you should change your culture for Bob. I have a story where I always use the name Bob. Sorry if anyone's name is Bob. I apologize in advance. Bob or Betty. We were coaching someone around this with their culture, and the leader kept saying that he's calling out Bob. I mean, we were at a table of 10 of us, and he kept calling out Bob. He kept saying, you're late to everything, and that is against our vision, and you're always late. And for him, as a military person, he was very strict on time. And for him, that showed up as like an integrity issue, right? You don't have integrity. I'm questioning you're aligned with what we're doing. And we had to have kind of a timeout moment where I said, what if Bob is just really crappy with time management? But you're questioning his integrity, right? I said, let's talk about that a little bit. We did talk about it. I know that Bob didn't improve, because the next meeting I came back, Bob was no longer present. But that was like a major call out. And for them, sometimes when the leader says showing up on time really matters to me and it's a matter of integrity, if you heard that, wouldn't you be like, I'm gonna show up on time? Or you're gonna find a company that has more fluid time values, right? That
Yep.
doesn't mind if you're 5 minutes late. So I think it's a matter of aligning people with what you need and communicating it. Goes back to the communication gaps a lot of times.
I would add to that, I would look at the organization and what's happened recently and if there's been change. I know a lot of people don't like change, but change is constant. And like I say on here, I don't change this. Champions adjust, y'all, because you got to be a champion. You got to learn to adjust. Every day might be the norm, but like as something changes, if Bob's manager changed or if something changed in the organization and he doesn't like it, and he was asked to be in a different project or whatever, or maybe Bob's peer got promoted to manager and they don't like that either. And now he's got to report to his friend, right? So it might be based on what Bob is dealing with that he didn't have to deal with a few months ago, and maybe sit down and be like, look, Bob, what's been going on? Like, what's going on right now? Because I feel like you have in the past not complained and have been very motivated to be at work. So really finding out like what happened, like what is going on, and you might find out he might have an elderly mother that is about to pass away because she has terminal cancer, or he might have might be going through a divorce. He might be going through a family or a personal situation that he just brings to work. And as much as you don't want people to bring their personal lives to work, people will. And it's just a matter of trying to support them as much as you can in their situation. So bad apples happen. And it's just, obviously that's part of trying to hire the right people and recruit and not have to have that bad apple come on board and you're like, I shouldn't have hired them. So good question. Anybody else?
I have one. Oh, you go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned you have 50 different offices.
Yep.
I manage a team where I've got people in Portland, but also Cincinnati. So you do have people. Like I can take local people out to lunch, but how do you build that culture? Local and then some.
How do you build a culture with people all the way from Portland to
So
Cincinnati?
you have an office
I'm
in
repeating for
Portland
those online.
and Cincinnati.
Yep. This is a big
Yeah.
spread. So again, there's not going to be a magic pill for this, but finding out what they want, what they need. I mean, there might be a reason they like being in Portland. They don't want to be in Cincinnati with you, right? I'm just making that up, but I'm just saying, it could be something we've seen companies that send them a gift bag every now and then, or send them a gift card to go, or they DoorDash them something during the team meeting where everyone else is meeting together. They may not care for that, right? They may be like, I don't really want that. One of my favorite things that a leader did was she gifted them the opportunity to take their spouse out to go do something fun, and they expensed it back. There is no better way to get employee buy-in than to get their partner bought in on what you're doing, right? And think like, wow, they're rewarding us together, right? That's a powerful thing as well. So I'd again go back to find out some of their love languages. Sometimes it's as simple as we use something called a welcome. Gosh, what was this thing called? It was like I don't know the checklist name, but it was this welcome questionnaire, right? Where we asked all those things like, what's your favorite, you guys know, drink, candy, restaurant, all those things, kind of a get to know you, hobbies, and that kind of stuff. It was to get to know them, but it was also because just like I might, if I worked in an office and I might leave them Twizzlers on their desk because that's their favorite. Well, how would I do that for a remote employee? Again, I might send them something every now and then. If, again, that goes back to that idea of gifting. That's not everybody's thing. They may just want you to call out their positive work, right? They may want you to be more conscientious of their 3-hour time change, right? We do so many things here in Eastern time, but it's not Pacific time. So listening for that and then adjusting and rewarding with the things that they really like, that means something to them. So recognition is important, but it has to be meaningful recognition. Right?
Yeah, I like that.
One of a little bit elephant in the room, and you said we weren't going to talk about AI today.
We already have.
I know, but we would be remiss to say how is AI going to change culture in 2026? I don't know if this is evergreen. In the future, how is AI going to change the future of work, specifically tied to workplace culture? And again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know exactly what is going to happen. But I do know that there's some things that we as leaders can help with this. And that would be things like, we're not talking about getting rid of all the jobs. We're talking about augmenting jobs, right? It's just like I'm picturing my mom's generation or any generation, right? If I had said I'm not going to use a computer or I'm not going to use my cell phone, I remember my mother telling me she wasn't going to text. And I said, Mom, if you want to talk to your grandchildren, you will figure that out. Right? And now it's not even snapping, right? Like, I don't even want to text. They want to snap or whatever that is. So there are certain things that we have to keep up with, right? We have to make sure we're making those adjustments. But we have to remember that there are some things that are uniquely human. So no matter what happens with AI, things like empathy and some of our collaboration, right? Creativity. I know we think AI can be creative, but can it implement the creativity, right? Can it show compassion? I don't know. Some people are using it for therapy, but I'm not sure if that's actually giving them true human moment compassion. So our differentiator and how we can really think about how that happens are looking at the uniquely human moments that AI can't bring. And that's how we're going to make that happen for the future.
Yep. Absolutely. Thank you, Melanie. Any other questions?
Yeah, so I am wondering how we account for mental health, stability, and issues in workplace.
Great question. So it was, how do you cultivate mental health in the workplace and support it for those online?
Yeah.
It's hard.
I have ideas. Again, no one size fits all. But it does go back to that idea of, again, I'm pointing at my journal that's here, right? But like there is some version of mental health, we're on the spectrum. So you could say someone is really struggling with it. Someone's doing pretty good today, right? So we need to take it all in incremental stages. We need to think about how what we do in work and how we talk to each other really impacts mental health, right? We need to have some grace. We need to know that people are not going to all have great days. If you think about like the worst day you've ever had in your life. Maybe it was the day you lost a loved one, the day you lost your dog. I mean, something happened. Everyone's had something go on. And reminding ourselves to have that compassion for others. Like, what if what they're going through is the worst day of their life right now? So I think again, having that compassion and working through it with them. We know there's things that are inherently HR. We know there's EAP programs and improving our benefits, all the things that we can try to do as HR leaders. But having a moment where it's okay to talk about it without them feeling like I'm going to get written up for this, right? If it's impacting their performance, being pretty candid. Hey, I've noticed this, right? And if we've defined that in our culture, let's just say in our culture, we've said we are whatever, we deliver on time, we go above and beyond, we do all these things. That's whether or not you're having a mental health moment or not, right? And so I could easily say to someone, hey, I noticed that you've fallen behind a little bit lately. And in we really try to deliver and go above and beyond and whatever. This isn't an attack on him personally. This is how we do business. And I noticed you aren't there. What's going on? Right? You can tie it back to performance, even in a compassionate conversation like that.
Yeah.
And do it better than AI did, right? Because you're talking to them and you're feeling. And then what the outcome is from that and how you get them past it. We're not doctors, right? We're kind of given the hug and the Band-Aid a little bit. Can we get them to the next place? I picture culture as a strategic bridge. So we're where we are today, and there's where we want to be. That's my left and right a little bit too. Where we are today, where we want to be. And that strategic bridge that gets us there is not the ping pong and pizza, right? It's these things that we're talking about. It is well-being. It is, are we investing in ourselves? Because we care about that just as much, if not more than money, right? What are we doing for those things? Are we developing leadership plans? Are we, whatever it is that we need to do, not a one-hit wonder, but a collective thing that we're doing to get us across the bridge.
I will add to that. It's not necessarily focused on mental health issues going on, but my guest on episode 50 was Peter Schramm, and he talks about having a boardroom of mentors in your life. And he goes through the whole thing and talks about how you should have a boardroom, like a company has a boardroom, a board. You have a mentor board for yourself. So it might be a spiritual mentor, it might be a career mentor, it might be, so going to your manager and saying, hey, I'm looking for a mentor in my career. What are 2 or 3 people that that might want to be a mentor for me? And so there's reverse mentoring I've heard a lot about. And so the more that I hear about it, it's kind of like, it may not fix all the mental health issues in your situation, but it really might help that individual in situations where they don't want to deal with it at work, and they could potentially have a mentor to really help them through those situations, and kind of cultivate that and keep that employee engaged as much as possible. So really good question. I know we are very close to being finished, and I'm keeping everybody from going to the happy hour and having food. So I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate Melanie being here for being my guest for episode 52. Thanks to all of you coming as a live audience. This was so fun. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. So thank you. And for those of you that were watching live, thank you for spending time with us, and hopefully to see you soon on another episode. So tune in for the next episode next Monday. Cannot wait to have the future guests. Melanie, again, thanks. And we'll talk to everybody soon. Have a great evening, and thanks, CincySHRM.
Thank you all. Yay! Thank you. Thank you.